All right, let's take a closer look at the materials and methods of the study to get a good understanding of how it was conducted. So there were 30 healthy, non-smoking Dutch male volunteers who were included in the trial. The subjects were randomly allocated to a train group, which was 18 people of the 30, and a control group, which was 12. The group was trained by Dutch individual Wim Hof and 3 trainers. These are people that Wim trained himself. Okay, so there were 4 days of training in Poland, and the training program consisted of 3 main elements. There was meditation, exposure to cold, and breathing techniques. Now, in terms of the training, the subjects voluntarily exposed themselves to cold in several ways. They did some standing in snow barefoot for up to 30 minutes. They lied bare-chested in the snow for 20 minutes. They did daily dipping or swimming in ice-cold water, which would have been 0 to 1 degree Celsius for up to several minutes, including complete submersions. And this is the last thing they did. They hiked up a snowy mountain with an elevation of almost 1.6 kilometers, bare-chested, wearing nothing but shorts and shoes at temperatures ranging from -5 to -12 degrees Celsius. If you take wind chill into account, it's much colder, somewhere around -12 to -27 degrees Celsius. And then the breathing technique. Subjects are asked to hyperventilate for an average of 30 breaths. Subsequently, the subjects exhale and hold their breath for 2 to 3 minutes. This is called the retention phase. Then breath retention is followed up by a deep inhalation breath that is held for 10 seconds. And then subsequently, a new cycle begins with the hyperventilation starting all over again. So, after returning from Poland, the subjects had practiced the techniques they learned daily by themselves at home. And the Endotoxemia Experiment day happened 5 to 9 days later. Now, again, 6 of the 9 trained subjects were randomly selected for participation. And then they go on to say here that this selection was performed to allow for subject replacement in case of an adverse event or illness in one of the trained subjects. But that makes no sense. You just test all 9 subjects, and if some of them have adverse events or illness, you just report that. You don't replace. The control group did not undergo any training procedures throughout the study period. Okay, let's talk about the actual endotoxemia experiment. So the subjects had refrained from caffeine or alcohol-containing substances 24 hours before start of the experiment, and food 10 hours before the start of the endotoxemia experiment. LPS solution was administered. So LPS is the endotoxin. That's what was administered as an IV bolus injection. And then during the study, continuous monitoring of blood pressure and blood sampling was going on. They also were checking the heart rate, the respiratory rate, oxygen saturation, and body temperature, taking lots of different measurements. And so LPS is the endotoxin. So the endotoxin induced flu-like symptoms such as headache, nausea, shivering, muscle, and back pain were scored every 30 minutes on a 6-point Likert scale, 0 equaling no symptoms and 5 equaling the worst ever experienced, resulting in a total score of 0 to 25. 30 minutes before the lipopolysaccharide administration, which is the endotoxin, the subjects in the training group started their first breathing technique, which was the hyperventilation. They did that until 2.5 hours post-exposure to endotoxin. Afterward, the subjects stopped practicing all techniques, and the control group did not practice anything throughout the whole endotoxemia experiment day. Plasma cytokines, they looked at concentrations of TNF-alpha, interleukin-6, interleukin-8, and IL-10. These were measured using Luminex assay, which is another basically routine analysis method. Before we go any further, let me just do a quick introduction of cytokines. So think of cytokines as proteins that are secreted by cells for communication. And what they can do is, if a cell receives stimulus and then it produces cytokines, those cytokines can go find another cell, bind a receptor, and trigger some sort of response in that target cell. Now, there are 5 different types of cytokines, and also the cytokines can be subdivided into pro-inflammatory or immunosuppressive. One of the types is interleukins. They help communication between white blood cells, and they help promote differentiation of white blood cells into different subtypes. And then there's also TNFs, which are tumor necrosis factors. These bind cell receptors, and they promote cell death, and they can induce fever as well. Now, interleukin-10 is considered more of an immunosuppressive cytokine. So it reduces inflammation, whereas the other three, IL-6, IL-8, and TNF-alpha, these are more so pro-inflammatory, and they will more so induce fever-like symptoms. Thanks for checking out that video. I hope you liked it. Here are a couple more for you to check out. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel.